consequence of going a long time?
It's just kind of like affecting my decision making.
No. Well, how do you feel about taking shots?
Leo, I feel extremely comfortable with telling you and literally nobody else in this room that you've gone too far and I need you to take a shot to continue talking. So.
But there's not a timer.
Karma.
So I will not be.
I may or may not be like motivated by this.
You could be speaking for a minute, and I can make that decision.
I don't like this. All right, fair enough. Retract.
But Aaron, Ash, and I are counsel.
The triumvirate of his decree. It is safe.
That's the word I'm trying to think.
I'm drinking straight whiskey, so I don't know how I feel about a shot. It's already happening.
You buy those little Jack Daniel things.
First of all,
what are the things are like?
Good call.
You don't even know.
I stole your seat.
All right. So I was encouraged by
when I came out.
our wonderful birthday girl that it was my turn, and I'm not going to apologize that I printed stuff out in order to go off of. So
Are you reading it? Are you reading it?
I'm gonna look at it. We'll see.
Glance.
There's some quotes in here I have, so I don't want to mess up the quotes.
Is there a learning objective?
I wasn't told to bring quotes.
There's gonna be a test, so don't worry. It's a Google form, so you can do it on your phones.
It saves automatically.
Do you want me to time myself so you can hold me accountable?
Just ask me what the rules are. I'm not looking to enforce them myself. I'm just curious.
All right. So the story I'm going to tell is one that you've all been told before. Whether or not you remember it is insignificant, I guess. But throughout history, there's a handful of events that we can definitely say was like world-changing, and I'm going to talk about one of those. This is specifically June 28th, 1914. Does anyone have a guess what it is?
No, but I really thought it was.
The Archduke Ferdinand assassinated.
Wait, Bailey, what did you think it was going to be?
That's not the day I was born.
So to give you an idea, those of you who don't know Bailey as well as others, I just mentioned dates that transformed history, and she thought I was going to be talking about her birthday.
9 days.
So there's Bailey in a nutshell. It's also not the date that we met, so sorry.
Well, that comes later, after her birth.
1914?
Is that the date that the Archduke Ferdinand was assassinated?
We have a winner. June 28, 1914 is the date that the Archduke Franz Ferdinand was assassinated, which is often attributed to to the day that started what would be the Great War, or World War I. So I want to start off by saying that I'm fairly confident World War I would have happened anyway. We usually say that his assassination was like the spark that started it all, but it was all kind of leading there anyway. So there's a good chance that it would have happened anyway. There would have been another spark, if you will. So, but we still attribute that to the day. That said, let me tell you a story that most of you have probably forgotten by now. I'll start off by talking about our three principal people here. Franz Ferdinand himself. Insane killer mustache. You ever look at pictures of him? Big curly Q mustache. Very impressive, very jealous. He was one of 70 Austrian archdukes. So it could have been a lot of people that this heir to the throne of Austria-Hungary fell on. He was the, I guess, lucky one? Maybe not lucky one. The only reason he got this position is because his cousin killed himself. And then when it fell on his dad was like, I don't want this. And so it fell on Franz Ferdinand, who, as we're telling the story, doesn't turn out very well for him either. He was very hated. Almost everyone disliked him, including his family. He's very racist. He did, though, very endearingly, love his wife as much as anything. He loved his wife, and he loved Austria and the empire. Another person involved, his wife, Sophie. Sophie was a Bohemian aristocrat, not from royal blood, which was problematic for the family, and pretty much everyone in Franz Ferdinand's life hated her because of that, did not want her to become queen or anything close to that. So they were intentionally treated like crap by everyone. And then the third principal person in this, Gavrilo Princip. He is the 19-year-old that assassinates, spoiler alert, assassinates Franz Ferdinand. He is a member of what is called the Young Bosnians. Usually people say it was the Black Hand, but really it's the Young Bosnians. He was a part of this terrorist group that was funded by the Black Hand, which is, by the way, an awesome name for a terrorist group. So, those are three people we're going to be talking about. Now, the trip from Austria to Sarajevo, where the assassination is going to happen, they planned this way ahead. And even before the trip happened, they had a feeling something bad was going to happen because it was the Balkans at a time when there was always assassination attempts. So this is not unexpected. Like, they literally thought that there was a good chance this would happen. And on the day that they were going to set out towards Sarajevo, their car breaks down, and this is a quote from Franz Ferdinand. "Our journey starts with an extremely promising omen. Here our car burns, and down there they will throw bombs at us." Like, he knows this is going to happen, and yet they're still going to go. So, Franz and Sophie arrive in Sarajevo a day before the parade that they're going to take. They enjoy, like, basically the same thing that Bailey and I just did in Savannah, where we're walking around, holding hands, enjoying this beautiful city. Sarajevo was a very unique city at the time, so, like, they're wonderfully enjoying their time just walking around. But that night that they got in town, a member of the Bosnian parliament told them, "You need to cancel this. Like, this parade that you're going to be going on to show how great you are and how the whole Austrian-Hungarian Empire is so wonderful and should all be united. Like, you need to cancel this because this is not safe." And she kind of brushes it off. I got rid of the quote on here because it's kind of boring, but she basically was like, "People love us here." Yeah. So now, June 28th, the special date. The parade is scheduled, and no less than 7 hitmen are stationed around the city. All right? So this isn't just like one person deciding to do this. They have pre-planned this, and they have stationed 7 people around the parade route. Why do they know the parade route? Because they published it in the paper the day before. So they know exactly where this guy's going to be. So Franz Ferdinand is crossing the first bridge, and on this first bridge he encounters the first assassin. First assassin has a grenade, and this is why you should all encourage your children and friends and family to start sports at a young age. I guess I shouldn't be encouraging assassination, but takes the grenade and tries to throw it into their car. Grenade goes up, hits the back of the car, and rolls under the car behind them and explodes. Franz Ferdinand and Sophie are safe. Bomb hits the wrong people, injures them, sends them to the hospital. Parade should be over. They should go to the hospital, everything. So what they do is they break away from the parade. They go to like their state house in Sarajevo and are safe there while the people who just got exploded in the car, which were Franz's friends, go to the hospital to get treated. So with the assassination attempt having failed, because a guy couldn't throw a grenade into the car that was a convertible, the assassins leave. All right, so there's the guy who threw the grenade immediately gets arrested. The other 6 are like, all right, well, we might as well give up because the parade's over and it's not going to happen. Well, Gavrilo Princip, the guy who I told you earlier on, who's eventually going to follow this through, he's like, all right, well, this didn't work. I'm going to duck into this deli here. Katzinger's looks delicious. I'm going to get some deli. So he goes in there to get a pastrami on rye, I assume. And back at the safe house where Franz Ferdinand and his wife are, there's a whole gathering of diplomats and bureaucrats there. And one of the guys that's among them is this like very nervous man who was supposed to be telling a story or like introducing Franz Ferdinand at the end of the parade. And he's like, well, no better time than now to do my introduction for him. It's not in front of a crowd, but why not do it from now? But he's so nervous, he chooses not to change the speech at all, which you'll see why that's problematic here in a second. This is his speech. It starts off with, all of the citizens of Sarajevo find that their souls are filled with happiness and enthusiastically greet your highness. Which obviously pisses off Franz Ferdinand, who's like, oh, you enthusiastically greet me with bombs. Thank you so much. I'm glad I'm here. So he's already pissed off. His friends have been bombed. Are in the hospital. They've tried to kill him, and now this guy's making light of the situation. Sophie has a cooler head, says, all right, he's trying to be nice. It wasn't his fault this all happened. Just give him a chance. So Franz Ferdinand decides, you know what, my friends are in the hospital. Let's go visit them. The governor who's with them says, I'm not sure how we should do that. We probably shouldn't go out. That seems unsafe. And there's an argument about whether or not they should go out. And someone says in this, that's because the refrigerator or freezer's open. One of them's open. One of the guys there in the group says, like, well, what do you think? Like, Sarajevo's just filled with assassins? Like, we got the guy. Like, you'll be okay. And so they're talking there, and they're saying, like, what are we going to do? And they're talking in German. That was normal. They're talking about whether or not what we should do. And so they decide, you know what? We are going to continue on this. We're going to go to the hospital. We're going to see our friends. We're going to meet with them. And then we'll finish on the parade. We'll do a different route. Problem is, the driver doesn't speak German, so he doesn't hear this whole conversation. The two drivers that are there to drive their cars only speaks Czech, so he doesn't know what's said. So they get into the car with the driver. It's the governor, the driver, Sophie, and Franz Ferdinand. And they're driving, and all of a sudden the governor realizes that they are back on the exact same route that they were on earlier, the same parade route. And so the governor starts yelling at the driver, like, what are you doing? We're going the wrong way. We're not supposed to be here. This isn't safe. You're being an idiot. And he's yelling at him, and he says, turn this car around now. We need to go to the hospital. Well, this particular car in 1914 doesn't have a reverse. Yeah. So in order to stop, and they have cars following them, and turn it around is a major process. So they are completely stopped. I was going to use a swear word, and then I was like, I'm a teacher, I'm not supposed to do that. And then I'm like, I'm not teaching, so but I'm not going to anyway. By an incredible miracle, where they were stopped was right outside Katzinger's Deli. And who comes out with his pastrami on rye, Gavril Principe, and looks and stopped in the middle of the road? Sophie and the man he's supposed to assassinate. And so he immediately pulls out his gun, drops his sandwich, which is a real trick. And immediately runs towards the car, fires 2 shots, and he wasn't a great shot, but on this day it was a miracle, hits them both and kills them both. And there was a really terrible quote. Franz turns to his wife after she's shot and says, Sophie, Sophie, don't die. Stay alive for our children. Heartbreaking, right? Like, put some levity to this whole thing. You know, don't mind that 20 million people are about to die because of this, but, you know, the kids. So, amazing coincidences all around, stupid things happening, and this is considered one of the biggest events in history that has been bumbled, botched, on all sides of this. The assassins messed up and somehow still managed to get it done. They knew there was going to be an assassination attempt. They still came. It got messed up. They had their chance to get away. And then they were going to go a different way. And then they ended up going the right way. And where they ended up stopping was right in front of the one assassin who was left in town. All of these things happened in order to make this one spark that was going to cause all of World War I. The irony of all of this was the reason that Principe killed him was because he didn't want his country, well, his ethnicity, he didn't want Serbia to become a part of the empire, Austria-Hungary. And the irony of this was Franz Ferdinand was probably the one person in the empire who would not have let that happen. Because there's three things that Franz Ferdinand believed in. One was that he dearly loved his wife. Probably his one redeeming quality. Two, he was against any war with Russia. And he was adamant that he would do anything to keep a war with Russia. Which, if you know anything about history, which is who Serbia goes to help their back. And so had he been heir, it would have made sure that this didn't happen. And three, he was so devoted to the empire that he had already planned out that instead of having this two-part empire of Austria-Hungary, what he wanted it to be was Austria, Hungary, and the Slavic Empire, where he wanted Serbia and all of its brothers to join themselves and be together as like united and have their independence. And so that may have been the one thing that would have protected this all from happening. Oh, that was beautiful, Scarlett.
So
If you can't see, Scarlett just showed up with a rose in the middle. Someone cue the seal right now. So that's where the story ends, with this incredible irony that all of these stupid, ridiculous, amazing things happened that ended up killing millions of people. And if it hadn't started World War I, we probably would not have World War II. I'm not going to get into all of that. And it all happened because of these stupid reasons, and it may not have happened had they just not killed the man. So that's where we end. So I have to do 3 shots, is that